Okay, because there's been a few issues getting everyone together for the webinar with regards to people's availability, etc., I thought I would do a video on how to use the guidelines. So I'm going to show you right from the very beginning of logging in. So the first thing is click login, enter your email address and password, which you should have been sent. If you've not received your email username and password, please let me know, and I will either send you another one or show you how to reset your password. Click login. Okay, so straight away you're taken to the home page. There's three main parts which we're interested in. The first one being search for a topic or medical code. Second one being predictive model, and the third one being Dart. So I'm going to just show you the guidelines proper and then go into the predictive model and Dart. First of all, start typing any condition you can think of or any condition you're working on, and I'll show you how to use it. So I'm going to start typing carpal tunnel syndrome. Okay, straight away this takes me through to carpal tunnel syndrome. Yours may look a little bit different to mine with regards to the contents on the left hand side, and that's mainly because I've rearranged the contents to suit my needs, which you can do by clicking reorder and then dragging and dropping everything you need into the relevant space. Now for myself, I'm using at the moment length disability a lot, failure to recover a lot, diagnosis and rehabilitation a lot. So they're the things at the top of my list. You may find other information useful, but for myself, that's what I'm using. So the first unique thing about the guidelines, which you guys probably won't be that used to, is the length for disability. Length for disability is effectively the optimum physiological recovery times for any individual condition. So I've typed in carpal tunnel syndrome, I've got medical treatment carpal tunnel syndrome and surgical treatment carpal tunnel. So if I say, okay, I'm working with someone who has carpal tunnel syndrome, they've not received surgical treatment, then based on millions of different pieces of case data, we can confidently say that the optimum physiological, so not psychological, physiological recovery time for that individual based on his condition is 7 days. If they're in a sedentary role, if they're in a very heavy role, then 28 days. And then we've got a maximum of 21 days to 63 days. This is an awesome bit of information, and it's something I've been using in the BT cases a lot. It's just to say, look, this person may have lower back pain or carpal tunnel or whatever it may be, and they've made zero recovery, or they appear to have made no recovery, and they're now in the kind of maximum day range. We know there's an issue there, and that actually we may need to investigate that a little bit further. So this gives us a really good idea of physiologically what we can expect recovery to be like. Now this is based, like I say, on over 10 million pieces of real case data. So it's not, kind of the ideal world type scenario. It's actually based on real life data and data that is effectively as applicable to us as it is to anyone else in the States or anywhere else. So physiological recovery time, 7 days if they're in a light role. Let's say they're in a heavy role, 21 days. I've just gone and met with this person, and this person now is not showing any signs of recovery. They're well over 21 days. What to do next? The next thing to do would be for me to look at failure to recover. These are great questions to ask the customer or in some circumstances ask the manager. They're also amazing questions for the manager to ask occupational health. So if the manager's ever stuck about what to ask occupational health, these questions are great. Just tells you a little bit about regarding the diagnosis, what sort of questions they should be asking, regarding treatment, and regarding prognosis. Now, anywhere where you see this symbol here, American College of Occupational and Environmental Medicine, that is basically telling us that this information is medically journaled, which means it's not something about with regards to best practice. It's medically journaled information, which means it has been researched in accordance with ACOM standards. We've then got a diagnosis criteria. So just talks us through the criteria for diagnosis, but more importantly, we've got DART. Now, DART is an awesome tool, and what DART allows us to do is effectively get a treatment plan for the condition. So we've got carpal tunnel syndrome, and then we've got various categories which we can delve into more detail about. So for example, I'm going to click here, activity modification exercise. So this is what we're saying at the moment is carpal tunnel syndrome is the condition. I want to know more about what activity modifications I can make and what exercises are recommended for the individual to make optimum recovery. So we're aiming for that optimum timescale. I'm going to say it's an acute or no, let's say it's chronic, because chronic is probably more likely what we'll come against. And then I'm going to press go. Okay, so what this tells me is, straight away, ticks mean that it has been medically journaled and is medically recognized as a good course of action. Crosses mean that it's medically not recommended, which means it's been medically journaled not to work. And the minus sign is that there's no recommendation, which means it's not been medically journaled that it works, but it's also not been medically journaled that it doesn't work. Some people say it works, some people say it doesn't work. If I click into this, it's going to give me more information about the recommendation and also about the rationale behind why it's recommended. If I click more, it's going to give me even more information. I'm hoping you guys are looking at this and realize how valuable this could be to us as practitioners, but also to the manager and to the people needing the information. Now you can print this information, or you can just go ahead, copy and paste it. I tend to copy and paste the relevant information into the reports. There's no point in reinventing the wheel. It's already here. It's telling us what we need to know, and it's doing it in great detail. Ergonomic interventions, split keyboards, trackboards, work restrictions, which is great. So it even tells us what type of restrictions. It's really, really useful information. So that's all available to you in the DART tool. A little bit about rehabilitation. So what this is saying is, if you want to achieve optimum timescales, you need to be aiming for this type of integration and interwork with relevant medical specialists such as occupational hand specialists or physical therapists, up to 3 visits within 8 weeks. So that's what you want to be aiming for. Now, if the individual says to you, actually, do you know what? I've not had any visits with a physiotherapist. This is a great way to say, well, you probably need to revisit that with your GP, start to understand a little bit more about why that might be, and also how important it is to make sure you do actually get those visits. So it's a great little offer in there, and a bit of information. Causation and known risk factors is obviously really useful for us as individual practitioners to know why this may have happened in his working or in their working environment, and what we can do to try and help overcome that. Ability to work, risk, capacity, tolerance, and accommodations. And then algorithms are just a general overview of what we need to do based on yes/no answers. Okay, incidence and prevalence just gives us a little bit of info on that. Treatment, you can go straight to the DART tool again. prognosis, comorbid, and actually a really useful part of this is the type of specialist that should be involved. Again, if you ask an individual, have you had any involvement from these therapists, these specialists, and that individual says to you no, then clearly there's something wrong with that person's treatment plan. Complications, and then maximum medical improvement. This is really useful information. I've had a few BT cases, and I expect you guys have as well, whereby the individual has just started their treatment plan, or they've just started their plan for recovery, so post-surgery. What this is saying is 60 to 90 days is where you're going to see the best or the most improvement. Now, if this person's 90 days in and they've showed zero signs of improvement, then alarm bells should be ringing, and this gives you the knowledge to know what to ask. It then says continued improvement is possible over the next 540 days, but the amount of improvement will be limited. So in the next 18 months, you're going to improve a bit, but it's going to be limited to what that is. Hospital costs are US-based information, so not really relevant for us. So that's the guidelines. That's how you use them, and that's the information you'll find. Now the other two bits I wanted to show you. Predictive model. This is just a really nice way as a practitioner to try and understand risk versus cost. So we've got carpal tunnel. I'm going to put that the claimant is 35, or the customer is 35. They're male. I'm going to put that they're in a heavy job and they're outside the US. And then I'm going to put a coexisting condition of depression. I'm going to put major single episode, and I'm going to calculate. Now, what this is telling me is that if we do nothing at all, and usually when we get to them, they've done nothing at all, you can expect 96.2 days absence. However, if you're able to implement all of the kind of treatment plans and relevant guideline information, and try and aim for that optimum timescale of 21 days, and then we put in a salary of 35,000 and recalculate. What this is saying to us is, if you achieve that optimum timescales of 21 days, so if you put all the treatments in place and you make sure the person's working towards that optimum timescale and they achieve it, then you can save yourself 75.2 days in absence and $15,000. Obviously, we convert that to pounds, so £15,000. Now, this is not a kind of legally backed piece of information. What this is saying is, based on the millions of pieces of case data we've got, we can be pretty sure that if you achieve optimum timescales, which are achievable, then this is the type of money you're likely to save. This is just a great piece of information when you get those arguments from line managers that, risk versus cost, etc. And we can say, actually, do you know what? You could save yourself thousands and thousands of pounds if you implement some of these suggestions. So it's not the be all and end all, but it's a great tool for us as practitioners to help us move people forward and convince people to take action. The other part was that, which you can go straight into here. I'm just going to type in lower, low back pain. Obviously, we get lots of that, right? Activity modifications. I'm going to put that this one was acute and just go. And it's going to give me aerobic exercises, strengthening exercises, stretching exercises, sleep postures. It's going to give me a lot of information. So bed rest is not recommended, still old school. Sometimes we hear that it's recommended when clearly it's not. So lots and lots of information there. Great tool. Go ahead and use it. Write down your questions as you're going through and either give me a call or get them across to me so that I can answer them. And then hopefully you'll see the value of this tool as much as I have, and you'll start using it